No one will help you. Then you get help, but don't want it.
Next, on Binge with Baldrick.
You're about to die. But that's only the beginning. Kicked out of heaven on Binge with Baldrick.
This is Binge with Baldrick, the interesting show for curious minds and hungry hearts. Here now, a guy who's lived his entire life with artificial intelligence, Thomas Baldrick.
Greetings, friends. Much love and gratitude for being here. I am Thomas Baldrick. I woke up today. Life is good. I am Julian Baldrick's dad. I have my Protein 2.0, so let's go. Welcome to episode 1 of Binge with Baldrick. Did you happen to catch episode 0? A friend of mine said, only you would bring a podcast to life in an episode 0, then go right to talking about death in the next one. Guilty as charged. In prepping for this show, a Gallup poll got my attention. It reported 61% are at least somewhat afraid of dying. That was pretty revealing. To me, it says many, not all, but many of the 39% who claimed they were not afraid of dying were either not being fully honest with themselves and or the pollster. Oh, that reminds me, I know a really great market research guy in Arizona. His name is Mike Noble. I'll have to get him on the show sometime. Anyway, mainly based on inaccurate election polls, I know a lot of us question poll results. But that doesn't mean we can't find some poll results intriguing, right? For instance, 174% of Philadelphia Eagles fans know the Dallas Cowboys suck. But I digress. Back to death. 11% of U.S. adults admit to having an extreme fear of death. 70% say there is probably or definitely life after death. 67% believe in heaven. Meanwhile, 55% believe in hell. 79% believe there is something spiritual beyond the natural world. 46% report they have been visited in a dream by a dead loved one. 31% report a dead loved one has visited them in some other form. I think that information really sets the stage for my near-death experience story. But before we do, let me quickly share how you can get in on the conversation of this episode and connect with the show. The circus is coming to your town as Binge with Baldrick is under the big top. If you want to get in on the act, don't worry. You don't need to be the next flying trapeze artist or the next human cannonball. Just go to baldrick.com, click on the podcast tab, and see the various ways you can connect with the show. We will gladly accept it all because we need it all to compete and succeed. Now, if you don't visit baldrick.com, you could wind up with a shovel in your hands following the elephants in the parade. Have fun with that. Now back to the show. All right, shut up, Baldrick, and tell the story before we all keel over. Here we go. This is the foundation. Please understand, I loved my high school years. I had many great friends, many great times, and kept making more of both. Each year of fun seemed to build upon the year before. One Saturday night, I was at a party at my friend Nancy's house where I was often. There were 4 girls in the family. All were really cool in their own right. The house was packed, of course, with the exception of any parents. Instead of my usual carrying on, that night, I spent much of the evening in conversation with a girl I just met. We had already decided to go out the next week. I went to the party with 2 guys, but we barely saw one another. Turns out my friend Mike was also smitten by a girl he met. When the 3 of us left that party, the plan was to go to our friend Mark's house to sleep over. Coincidentally, his parents also were not home. Go figure. We both hopped in the car with Danny, the driver. We didn't set out to ignore him. Instead, Mike and I were both talking about the girls we met at the party. We were excited. All three of us were sitting in the front seat of the black Ford sedan. Talk about young and dumb. All three of us were not wearing seatbelts. Unfortunately, we soon went from invincible teenagers to in trouble. I still remember the details and much of who said what. I have to think if you were me, you probably would too. Anyway, the driver lost control of the car. You can guess why. Making matters worse, instead of hitting the brakes, he hit the gas pedal. It was a totally defenseless few seconds. I can still see and feel the car gaining speed and veering to the right. No doubt about it, we were going to slam into that telephone pole. Oh, no. When we did, it was like the car wrapped itself around the pole. Being in the middle, the pole was right in front of me. To my right and left were my friends. Both were unconscious, out cold. I knew they were hurt, but not how badly. As for me, I was banged up and wasn't sure what to do. Keep in mind, we didn't have smartphones in those days. This was the Stone Age, and I found myself between a rock and a hard place. The signs of fire in the front of the car made my decision quite easy. I needed to act quickly. I tried getting out of the front seat on both sides, but couldn't. I managed to push myself up over the back of the seat and dumped myself into the back seat. Oh boy, did it hurt, but I was desperate. I tapped into all the strength I could find and got each of my friends out of the car. I managed to drag them a few feet behind the car in the street away from the fire. It was the best I could do. To this day, I remember doing it, but I have no clue how. Given my condition at the time, it will always be an event I would love to watch in a replay. And for laughs, I would also again like to see the fashion I was rocking that night. I remember a pair of khaki-colored corduroy pants, along with a maroon, brown, and gold checkered button-down shirt with, gotta have, the snap-on buttons. On my feet was a pair of light brown moccasins, which my friend John Sands, God rest his soul, had gotten me into wearing. Oh yeah, I was looking good. Now the part I would never want to see again. After getting my friends safely out of the car, I collapsed in the street by the back tire on the driver's side. I'm lying in the street on my right elbow with the car behind me. I'm using my left arm to wave for help. This is in my hometown of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. I will never forget the faces of people in their cars with their heads turned to the right, just staring as they slowly passed by. They crawled by, and no one would stop to help three kids in the street by a car on fire. I gave up counting how many rubberneckers crawled past us with me laying there begging for help. Then an angel appeared. He was alone, driving a big light green four-door sedan. It looked like an unmarked police car, and for good reason. The tall, thin, middle-aged man jumped out of the car yelling that he was a detective in the Philadelphia Police Department. He ran right to me asking, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yes, I'm fine. I just have a broken rib." Dr. Baldrick here was on duty. He yelled, "Great, help me get these guys in the car. Hurry, there's no time to wait for an ambulance." I took it that to him, he was saying my friends were in really bad shape. I tried to get up to help, but couldn't. Here we finally had a hero, and I was useless to him and to my friends in need. So I laid there helpless and watched as he hurriedly did everything. He got the two guys into the back seat of his car. They were still unconscious. He then lifted me into the front seat with him. We were only a couple miles away from the nearest hospital. I knew this because my house was only a couple blocks away from Frankfurt Hospital. The detective questioned me the whole way as he raced us there. He wanted to know exactly what happened. I told him as best I could. He wanted to know how we escaped from the car. I told him. "You couldn't have," he said. I asked him how else we got out. He wanted specifics on our injuries. Again, I wasn't much help. I told him all I knew was those guys wouldn't wake up. It sounds funny now, but he got on my nerves asking about me. Where exactly was I hurt? He made me show where my pain was and to describe exactly what I felt. I didn't want to talk about it. I was scared for my friends and kept begging him, please, I'm fine. Those guys are the ones who need help. I just have a broken rib. When we pulled up to the hospital emergency room, he flew out of the car. And within seconds, an army of superhumans rushed out to get us. Right away, I got split up from my friends. I didn't know where they were. I didn't know how they were. I didn't know where the detective was. I didn't know what was going on. So I got put on a bed in the middle of a large, well-lit room. Men and women in light blue scrubs were asking me a million questions and seeming like they were doing all kinds of stuff as fast as they could. Straight ahead of me was a set of light brown double doors with small windows at the top. If I looked out over my feet, I could see people coming and going, and I was hoping to catch a glimpse of my friends and the detective. The hospital staff was great, but for some strange reason, they wouldn't listen to me either. I kept asking them, let me be, so they could help my buddies. For the life of me, I couldn't understand. Why wasn't anyone listening to me? I asked them to go home so they could focus on my friends. No. They asked if I had anything to drink. I said yes. But honestly, I only had a couple of beers because I met this girl Susie at the party and spent most of the time talking with her. The nurse by my side said that was big because they needed me to stay alert and keep talking with them. I found it really odd. Everyone around me at the hospital wanted to engage in small talk with me. They asked all kinds of questions about what I had to eat, how was school, what classes did I have in school, my family, friends, hobbies, my plans for the future, etc., etc. But things got weird when they couldn't contact my parents. I told them my parents were at Skip and Eileen's house, but I didn't know the phone number or the address. Plus, I didn't know Skip's legal first name, so this meant they couldn't look them up in the good old trusty phone book. They said they needed to reach my parents to get permission to treat me. So again, I suggested, how about if I go home? And I even promised to come back in the morning with my parents. They again said no. Around this time, I got some great news. My friends were alert and they were going to be okay. Only I didn't get to celebrate for long. The floodgates were about to burst open. I knew I was going to throw up. A volcano was inside me. The good news, there was no volcano of vomit. The bad news, I was throwing up blood, a whole lot of blood. That was a first. You might say I began to think about getting a second opinion of Dr. Baldrick's diagnosis. A real doctor said, I have to stick this needle into your midsection. It is not going to feel good, but we need to find how much pressure there is inside. To this day, I'm still not sure what pressure they were talking about. But the wonderful nurse held my hand as we all watched the needle pop right out of my belly into the air. Kooky. While I didn't understand the test, and still don't, I was pretty sure I didn't pass it. Based on the reactions of the medical team, they concurred. But for me, I had seen enough. I was exhausted. At this point, I gave up on trying to go home. Now I had only one wish. I just wanted to go to sleep. I just wanted to sleep. I begged them. The same sweet nurse who never let go of my hand said no. She reminded me they needed me awake and needed me to keep talking to them. I promised to be more helpful in the morning, but please, right now, I just need sleep. That nurse, who had been so calm and steady as a rock, well, this changed. She was a mom, and she had been telling me all along I was doing great, how I just needed to be strong and help them to do their jobs. But suddenly, she burst into tears. I didn't know why. I didn't know what to do. Then, with tears running down her face, she screamed at me. I mean, she screamed. I can still hear her exact words and how she yelled them. Don't you go to sleep. Don't you go to sleep on us. Don't you dare go to sleep on us. Don't you dare quit on us. Finally, I knew what all the commotion was about. I couldn't believe it. Were they working to keep me alive? As if that wasn't shocking enough, what happened next sure was. No way. I had locked in on those double doors. I not only saw him coming, I felt him coming. No way. In walked my cousin, Jim Baldrick. Father Jim Baldrick, to be exact. Father Jim and I were close. He played a big role in me not getting kicked out of every Catholic school I attended in Philadelphia. Father Jim was pastor at Christ the King Church right down the road from the hospital. What a great coincidence, I thought. Someone must have told him about me after recognizing we had the same last name. Everything was going to be okay. He came right over to me and sat on my left side. I said, "Hey, Father Jim, I'm so glad to see you. What are you doing here?" He said, "I was called to administer the last rites to someone." So I said, "Okay, but when you're done with that, will you come back and stay with me? I'm getting kind of scared." Father Jim said, "It was you, buddy, I was called for. Come on now, let me do this." I was shocked. This was insane. What? I'm just a kid. I couldn't be dying. Father Jim held my left hand with his right hand. His black leather prayer book was in his left hand while reading my last rites. The nurse was clutching my right hand with both of hers. Next, I could only see them. I could not hear them. I could not hear anything. Someone turned off the sound. Next, it was me who was off. Out of nowhere, with no warning, suddenly I was speeding through a long round tunnel. It was a speed so much faster than I had ever seen, than I had ever known. From where I was positioned in the hospital, I was traveling to the right of me and in the opposite direction away from Father Jim and the nurse. Yet somehow I got flipped around. Now I was traveling feet first and lifting my head to see everything. To explain it, the trip in the tunnel was like being in a luge in the Winter Olympics, only much faster. I noticed I was able to move around in the tunnel and it didn't hurt. That was cool. The tunnel was wide enough on both sides and above my head. It had no hard walls. It was made out of colorful lights. The most amazing display of colors and lights. Incredible. Overwhelming. The most intense collection of colors and lights you can possibly imagine. Blues, reds, pinks, purples, yellows, greens, oranges, and more. There is no way for me to describe my sheer awe of this. Pick any and every adjective you want. It still won't do. Yet, even more dominant than the most amazing light show ever, there was a huge white light at the end of the tunnel. I wondered if it was the sun. It had to be the sun. What else could it be? The light was that big and that bright and that everything. The best way I can say it is it was everything. And that light, it felt like everything. It was so bright and so blinding, I tried to shield my eyes. I had my left hand higher than my right hand to cover part of my view, but I needed to keep watching, and I wanted to keep watching. It was irresistible. So there I was, like in the Winter Olympics, speeding along in the luge, feet first, Baldrick the bobsledder, peeking through the cracks between my hands and my fingers. I don't know how long the tunnel ride was. I lost all track of time, but I do know this. I didn't want the tunnel to end because it was so amazing. The other reason is because I wasn't sure about the blinding light at the end. Was it really the sun? Was this a good thing or a bad thing? One thing I knew for sure. There was no chance of me stopping. I was going way too fast. I wouldn't call it scary. It was more like a great mystery. I simply had no idea where I was, how I got there, what this was, or why. No clue. I can describe the end of the tunnel for you. It seemed like reaching the edge of a waterfall, like being in a log flume at an amusement park. The blinding white light was in front of me, and I thought I was going to be splashing right into it, just like you would hit the water in a log flume. There were darker lights below. They were way in the distance, way down there. So, just when I got to the end of the tunnel, whoosh, I went flying through the air. Here goes. Wow, I am going right into the white light. But wait, hold on. What is happening here? How am I not in the great white light? I was heading straight for it. I was going way too fast to stop. Where am I? What happened? What in the world is going on? This next part will blow your mind. I am back at the hospital, only now I am looking down from above the same room where I was. My vantage point up there was behind my head and over to the right. It was the exact opposite side from where I took off in the tunnel. Those same double doors beyond my feet, they were in the distance. I watched Father Jim. He was done praying, but he and the nurse were both still by my side, both crying. And for the very first time, I was watching me. They must have finally let me get some sleep, I thought. I was just laying there. To call it confusing would be an incredible understatement. I kept saying, hey, that's me down there. Then I would say, no, this is me up here. Then I would say, no, that is me down there. No, this is me up here. I remember I kept debating back and forth, trying to figure out who I was and where I was. I vividly remember wrapping up the debate by saying, well, this is disconcerting. It struck me because I don't think I ever used the word disconcerting before in my life. The next scene, I was somewhere else. Again, no travel, no tunnel, no clue how I got there. Just somewhere else. It felt beautiful, blissful. I loved it. Man, did I love it. Did I mention how much I loved it? I'm telling you, I loved it. Granted, this entire topic may be too much for you, but what I am about to share might sound really strange to you. However, to me, it makes perfect sense. I vividly remember that I don't remember anything about the details of what that place looked like. I also remember being told I would not remember all of it, despite how much I loved it and how great it was. It simply wouldn't be fair, it wouldn't be right, it wouldn't happen. After what did feel like a long time, I then found myself in another scene. This one was darker, yet also totally safe. To me, it seemed like a much higher, faraway land. I was there with someone. I have always had the feeling it was my pop-pop. He was my man. I followed him everywhere. That is until that one Sunday afternoon he had a heart attack, fell into my lap, and died. I was just a little guy, not even in school yet. My hero gone. I remember all the details of that day, too. Anyway, up there in this darker, faraway place, there we were talking. It was like I was watching us from a camera 10 yards away to my left. I could see everything. I could hear everything. He had his left arm around my shoulders. I was so happy and was here for what felt like a long time. But in an instant, everything changed. He told me I couldn't stay. I had to go back. It was the last thing I wanted to hear, the last thing I wanted to do. I begged him. I pleaded, let me stay, please. I don't want to go back. Please, let me stay. But he insisted I had to go back. Now, Let's rewind because I think it is important to reiterate what I said in beginning this story. And that is, I loved my high school years. Life was more fun than ever. But yet I craved to stay where I was on the other side. I needed to stay where I was on the other side. I wanted it. It was so much better. It was so much more. I had no interest in going back to being me. None. But back I went. Again, this time there was no travel, no return trip in the tunnel. Yet the wild moments, they kept coming. This time I was back inside my human body. But hold on. Where was I? This was a completely different place. Father Jim was gone. The nurse was gone too. The hospital staff scurrying around me, they were all gone. I was alone. This couldn't be. Finally, I began crying. My first time crying that night. A man wearing a mask approached on my right side. He told me he would be my anesthesiologist. Then he placed a mask over my nose and mouth. He said, "Son, you are going to have to fight like you've never fought before." I began bawling. That split second was the lowest, loneliest feeling. I knew the anesthesiologist thought I was crying because I was scared of dying. But only I knew the truth. I was crying because I was back in my body. When I came to the next day after surgery, I was beyond sad. I was depressed. I was angry, rock bottom, in pain. I couldn't believe I was back. I didn't know why I was back, but I knew I did not want to be back. Putting it mildly, it created quite the battle with my parents and stayed that way for weeks. Enter two more angels to the story, nurses at Frankfurt Hospital. I adored them. Sally Carter and Roseanne Zemek. They were special. One would come in early to spend time with me before her shift. The other would stay late and hang with me after her shift. They did this for the better part of a month. They knew the issues with my parents. The nurses were the ones I confided in. Both listened to me with their hearts. Sally bought me a book titled Life After Life by Raymond A. Moody, MD. The unique research and stories in Dr. Moody's book solved the great mystery for me. I wasn't psychotic after all, nor was I the despicable human being my mother said I was. Instead, I was just a kid who had a near-death experience. My story was like some of those in Dr. Moody's book. There is more to this story, including the nurses pulling off the miracle of convincing my mother I was not faking it to stay out of school. The fact was I was not getting better or getting out of the hospital because something was wrong. This eventually led to yet another life-saving emergency surgery. Fast forward, today, here we are. Today, I share this story, hoping it helps you and other people to not be so scared of death. And on the subject of fear, I am not the least bit afraid that you or someone else won't believe me or will think I'm a total whack job. Doesn't matter. I know. And as sure as I am sitting here, this happened, as I said it did. Oh yes, it certainly did, and I remember it. For the record, I get a kick out of saying I got kicked out of heaven. The experience sure felt heavenly, but the fact and the whole truth is this. I cannot confirm it was heaven. I honestly do not know. Do I know if there's an afterlife? Yes. Yes, I do. Is it something to fear? No. In my personal opinion and my personal experience, no, it is not something to fear. I can also promise you I am not afraid to die after going through that near-death experience. I will admit there were times when I wish I did die because of what I remember on the other side. And in addition, some of the hateful and horrible things people do in this world remind me how much better it was and is on the other side. For me, there has been one giant change since my near-death experience, and that is now I just want to live because I am Julian Baldrick's dad. I just want to keep being his dad forever. In closing, I remain curious to hear what you know, what you think, what you believe. So reach out in social media. You'll find how at baldrick.com. What's really cool is you can even record a video and send it to the show. And please share Binge with Baldrick, or at least share this episode with others. As for our next episode, may we all live to reach it. You won't want to miss this one either. It is the most unbelievable, unrepeatable, and untold true story you've ever heard of a young sinner meeting the Pope. Thank you for being here, and thank you for going to the other side and back with me. This is Binge with Baldrick. Until next time, Godspeed, my friends. Go Birds.